Hi guys, this is oh my god, sorry. Hi guys, this is Brown Fashion Girl, and this is where we talk all about fashion, luxury, and pop culture. And today we are talking about why I'm just like that didn't work. And I have actually made a list of how many reasons? 7 reasons that it did not work. And I think you're gonna agree with all of them. At least I hope, because I think it's pretty fairly obvious why the show didn't work. But I really sat down, made notes, and I sort of decided to share those notes with you. First reason, let's get straight to the reasons, no long intro. We all have seen the show. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you've seen Sex and the City, you've seen the movie, you've seen the second movie, God bless you, and you've seen And Just Like That, all the episodes, 3 seasons, 12 episodes. So now let's get to the first reason why it didn't work. First reason is there was no Samantha, which in hindsight, I'm glad she got out of this mess, because it was just whatever. Random stuff is happening on the show, and Samantha could have made it better, but I don't know if she could have saved such shitty writing and such pointless shows with no substance. Let's move to the next reason. We all know Samantha. We really missed her. So yeah. Second reason, Sex and the City was like a lot about fashion, and we had next to no fashion moments in the show. We did have styling. I don't mean to equate like there was no like good styling or good outfits or good brands that were showcased, but I just meant it didn't like really impact the culture as like Sex and the City had like really iconic outfits that changed the way that entire generation looks at fashion brands. It brought certain brands into the limelight and it introduced certain brands to the masses, and this show just didn't do that. We had very minimal fashion moments. I think one of the only ones that I really can even recollect now is the Simone Rocha dress that Carrie wore, and they tried a lot. I would say they had that orange Valentino moment, and they also had that blue and grey Vivienne Westwood custom piece, but it was just not a good look. I don't know what they were trying. Fashion was really whatever, and Charlotte was pretty basic. I think she stayed very consistent to her style. I'd say the same around about Miranda. I think actually the first season still had good styling for Miranda, because I do really like some of the outfits that she wore. I think she wore this really gorgeous Dries Van Noten dress, stripes and sort of blocked in certain ways. And I also remember this, she wore this like lemon yellow and lavender purplish ombre coat. I can't remember the brand, but I absolutely loved that coat, and I saw that coat on the runway and I loved it, and I saw it on Miranda and I loved it. So I think they still were okay with the styling on season 1, especially for the other characters, but not Carrie so much. I think Carrie has been consistently average throughout the show. So yeah, fashion was weak. Now let's move to the next reason. So the next reason is that the characters just didn't have chemistry. Do you remember the girls having breakfast every morning in Sex and the City, and then Cosmos in the evening? There was chemistry, there was banter, there was like fun conversation. I understand that the girls are older, so they're not like as energetic maybe, or just maybe they're not just gossiping and being juvenile at the bar or the restaurant, but I still feel there was a major lack of chemistry between all the characters. There was just none. And I think they really tried to do that. They brought some extra add-on characters to do that, and they tried to give maybe some extra options to sort of for the characters to engage. Maybe for example, for Charlotte it was LTW, for Carrie it was Seema, for Miranda it was Naya, who actually left the show I think after first season. They tried, but there was just no vibe. Yeah. So. Reason number 4 is the most obvious one. It was the extremely forced, I might add, wokeness that they needed to portray in the show. It was just so surface level. It was just so like you read a Twitter, you read a tweet, and then you just want to sort of put that into a show, or maybe you read like a headline that you need to sort of address in a show. It was very performative. It was very unnatural, and they were repeating the same point over and over and over just to say that we are doing this. And when you're actually inclusive, diverse, and accepting, you don't really need to say it to portray it. And I think they said it too much. and they just forgot to portray it. So I think that it was just like, you know, the whole Shay character and the whole over explanation of they them. And I think they handled the rock thing, the rock Samantha, sorry, god, I'm calling Charlotte Samantha so many times, I don't know why. Charlotte scared rock, I think that was still okay in terms of how they portrayed and handled it, but I think everything else was just so being forced down your throat that, oh, you know, we are woke. And I get that the original show was made in 90s, so the culture was very different. Some of these films didn't even exist then, and they need to address that, but do that properly. I mean, this was just not it. Reason number 5: unnecessary and underdeveloped characters. This was, I think, a thing that just didn't stop. It started with maybe Naya and Shay. Aiden comes back for no reason at all. I mean, he didn't really need to, but he did. And it turns out as a complete, absolutely horrible, not horrible, just like we had such high expectations for Aiden, because in the like TV series he was amazing. He's just gone downhill from there. Then we get a lot of I mean, Giuseppe and Anthony had a questionable dynamic in my eyes. It was just, I mean, we don't even, I still don't know what was Giuseppe is supposed to be in terms. I know objective facts about him, but I don't know who he is. So I mean, it was just pointless. And the next reason is that the plot lines didn't have any substance. There were so many abandoned plot lines. Lisa's dad, LTW's dad, died and then came back and then died again. Some drama was happening over there. I don't even remember. And it was just unnecessary. I think they just started up storylines, forgot to end them, or just completely irrelevant storylines. I mean, from the first episode of the second, and just like that, and to the last episode of the third season, it was just messed up. They just didn't know what they were doing. They were like, I don't know who the writing team was, but guys, I don't mean to tell you how to do your job, and I won't, but take the hint. And the next reason, and the last reason, is that the show did not know who it was for. Was it for Sex and the City hardcore fans? I mean, they had to know that we would watch it. I mean, you know, I watched the entire show. I didn't like it, but I did still see it, hoping it would get better. Or, you know, I just had to. I mean, I have been so invested in that show for so long that I just had to watch it. But actually, the show just didn't know. I mean, that was not a reason to make a show, right? That, you know, you had a successful show and you just make a next one just to get some eyeballs. I mean, like I said, it was not here, but I said on my Instagram that it was a cash grab, and that is what I think it feels like, because it was certainly not made for a younger generation or maybe a newer audience, because the references and the characters were there. They were just trying to, you know, try it for the one last time, I guess. You know, they milked 2 movies out of it. They thought maybe we can do 1 show. They did 3 seasons, which is commendable for such a shitty show. And you know, I actually would have loved that the show would have gone on for like 7, 8, 10 seasons. But I think after the second season, it was pretty obvious that it's going nowhere, because it was just so bad. I mean, you know, even hate watching has limits, I feel. And I think this show was like really gradually crossing them. I'm not even sure if I would have sat through if they had a season 4 or 5, if it was going at the same pace, because it was just not for me. Even though I would happily, I've seen Sex and the City, the first one season, season 1 to 6, approximately 5 times, and the 5th time was I just wrapped it up, I think, a couple of weeks back. That is how much I love the show. I do love the show. I know every episode, I know every look, I know every dialogue, I know everything. But I mean, that does not mean I'll watch anything, and I think that's what the show assumed that people would do, and it was just bad. It had nothing to say, and it had no. In fact, you know, this brings, actually I didn't write this point down, but sort of I'm thinking of it now. Reason number 8 is it had nothing to say. There was no message behind the show. I mean, Sex and the City had a clear message, you know, but this one didn't, and I think that really is the root of the problem now that I'm thinking about it, for all these other reasons. Because if you have nothing to say, you will, you know, jump around, flounder, and, you know, just struggle. So I think that's what happened. So yeah, that was all my thoughts on And Just Like That and why it sucked. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think. And yeah, that was about it. Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Bye.